Alright lads, welcome back to Kiwi Cat's House of Magic, not Kiwi Cat's House of Side Questing into France. Although those videos do take off, I will post more. If they entertain people and get me eyeballs on my channel, why not? But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about magic. And let's talk about combo. What do we mean by combo? Combo, of course, is short for combination, being a gathering of cards that are more powerful together than some of their parts individually. For example, one of the original combos being Icy Manipulator and Royal Assassin, coming to you here from Hirobi. Yeah, I do play this in Hirobi, and it's highly effective. If you've got both of these out, so Icy Manipulator, 1 tap, tap target artifact, creature, or land. Well, if you tap a creature and you have Royal Assassin, you can just tap him then to kill that tapped creature. So you've got a sniper and his scope. The thing is, I would argue that this isn't what we mean by combo anymore. This is synergy. Combo, typically what people mean, what people talk about, what pisses them off, is a subset of cards that together have a major impact on the game, either winning it outright, as we can do here with these 3 cards, or creating a situation where your opponents simply cannot recover. They're stuck. For example, a friend of mine's Elish Norn, as I've often talked about, his Elish Norn deck has Cormus Bell, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and of course Elish Norn. So, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, all lands become swamps. Cormus Bell, all swamps are 1/1 creatures. Elish Norn, all of your creatures get +2/+2. All your opponent's creatures get -2/-2. And you have, if you have the Bell and Urborg out, your opponent's lands are now 1/1 swamps. So Elish Norn just kills them. And any land your opponents put into play afterwards instantaneously die due to state-based effect. They don't get to tap for shit. So you just one-sided Armageddon continuously. That's what people typically mean by combo. And for example, in my Omnath deck, I have a 3-card game-winning combo, and I have pulled it off, but I pulled it off around turn 5 or 6 because I got Triskelion and Archangel of Thune out off a Defense of the Heart. I already had Vault of the Archangel in play. So the game, nobody had time to get invested in it. But I played these cards. I had the mana to activate Vault of the Archangel. I did that. Took a counter off Triskelion, did a damage to something. Well, it's got Death Touch and Lifelink. Archangel of Thune, whenever I gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on all my creatures. So Triskelion gets reloaded. Take a counter off him, hit something else. And it doesn't matter. Any target. So if I hit my opponents, then they take 1 damage. Lifelink triggers. She re-racks Triskelion, and he fires again. So it's a game-winning combo. Weirdly, my 2 opponents at the time, Koob and the Genie, they weren't as upset with it as I thought they'd be. I thought it would spark some discussion. I thought we'd have a good talk about what we mean by combo, and they just kind of didn't care. I mean, not that they didn't care, but they're just like, oh, okay, you won. But previously, when I had played Mephidros Vampire and Triskelion, they got really upset because I can only kill the creatures. So Triskelion and Mephidros Vampire. Triskelion, take a counter off him, do a damage to a creature. Mephidros Vampire sees that you did a damage to a creature, and he gets a +1/+1 counter. So I can't kill my opponents with this combo, but I can kill all of their creatures continuously. So they don't get to have any creatures unless they're indestructible, hexproof, or shroud. They really didn't like that. And thinking about it, I believe they didn't like that because the game was locked up but they couldn't do anything. Without their creatures, and all of us play heavy creature-based decks, what were they going to do? They were going to slowly, the game would progress, and I would keep chipping at them by attacking into their empty boards, so I had free attacks on them. They couldn't defend themselves. If they played any creatures, I would gun them down that turn, again, barring Hexproof Shroud, indestructible. So the game was inevitable, but they could do nothing about it for all intents and purposes. But this combo, because it just ended the game, that's it. I win. There was no sense of this is going to take a long time. Okay, now we have to sit here while he just chips away at us. And then we started talking about another card. I would argue that this card, I don't own a copy. I don't want a copy. So I just printed out some altar that I thought was cool. I would argue this card is a 2-card combo, even though it's only 1 card. So once you cast Approach of the Second Sun, and all you have to do is cast it, there are very few ways of dealing with it, of stopping it. You've got inevitability. The thing about Approach of the Second Sun, though, is once it's been cast by a player, it speeds up the game, because everyone else is like, oh fuck, we've got to kill this guy before he can cast it again. Because unless you have Disallow, Void Slime, Tishana's Tidebender trick, forget the exact name, something like that, unless you have something that stops an activated triggered ability, it's going to go off, and all I have to do is cast it again and they win the game. But you can see it coming. You know it's going to happen. So that speeds up the game. It doesn't win out of nowhere. This combo, it can come out of nowhere. Just bang, Defense of the Heart, get these 2, nobody has any creatures, and then I have to slowly kill everybody. This one also can sort of win out of nowhere, but I have to have 4 mana to activate Vault of the Archangel, I have to have both these in play, and so on. And then the lads and I, we started talking about what kind of combos are acceptable in the game. And I'm kind of going through, kind of repeating myself here. We didn't come to a satisfactory conclusion. It's not until later that I was thinking about why this in Triskelion caused such an intense reaction when Archangel, Vault of the Archangel, and Triskelion did not. And I think it's because of that sense of doom, that sense of you can't do anything about it. You're just, the game is locked up, like you're playing against stacks. Basically, it's like playing against stacks. It sucks. You can't do a goddamn thing unless you draw one of your narrow answers, unless somebody gets lucky or the stacks player makes a mistake. And I want to ask you, how do your playgroups deal with combo, barring synergy? So again, combo being something that has a massively outsized effect on the game. Another one would be Haha, Its Feathers Laugh, and Elesh Norn. Haha says all your opponent's creatures have base toughness of 1. Elesh Norn says, of course, as we talked about, all your opponent's creatures get -2, therefore your opponents can't have any creatures. Unless they have counters on them or something like that. I mean, there are ways around it, but you have to have the timing right. And this is just synergy. I would say this is not a combo the way we think about it anymore. This is just synergy. They just work well together. But killing one creature turn, that's low-hanging fruit these days. Nobody cares about that, really. Now, if you can kill all the creatures all the time, that's when people get upset. What do you lads think?